You are listening to Lovely Talks Heavy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lovely Talks Heavy. I am your host, Lovely, and I discuss everything I enjoy with regard to heavy music. Today, we're going to have some fun and explore some bands that I need to check out. I didn't do one of these episodes last month, so I am way behind on that. My list of bands that I need to listen to remains a mountain. So, to make up for that, we're gonna go through a good handful today. If you're new to the show, this is how my exploration or band binge, still need to find a better way to phrase that. Anyways, here's how my band binge episodes work. I have a huge fucking list of bands that continues to grow that I need to check out. Every time I do one of these episodes, I pick a good handful from the list and pick one album or EP to listen to per band and judge their music based on that. I do keep in mind a few things. One, the album that I pick may not be the band's most shining moment in their discography. Two, the album may not be reflective of the band's music as a whole. Perhaps the band is more experimental. Perhaps they've had to transition into different sounds over the years. And three, I keep in mind the very real danger that one or more of the members of the band could be just fucking awful. I keep all of this in mind and do the most basic of research to get an elementary understanding of what each band does, and if I don't like it, hey, that's fine. I'll still share my thoughts, and maybe somebody else out there will like it even more and find their new favorite band. So, let's dive right into this massive mountain! First up, we have Savage Master. I kind of cheated with this one, not on purpose, but they have two albums, and I listened to both of them. Again, not on purpose. I was setting up my bullet journal for the month, and I thought I had clicked on their first album on Spotify while listening to them while doing that. It turned out I just clicked play on the whole discography. It's only two albums. We're fine. Anyways, Savage Master are a heavy metal band from Louisville, Kentucky. I love what their Bandcamp description says, so let's get a look at that right now. Savage Master features female vocals soaring on Lucifer's wings over sick rockin' guitar riffs straight from the depths of hell to honor and pass along the great traditions of our true occult heavy metal foremothers and forefathers. Beautiful, right? Admittedly, upon first listen of their first album, Mask of the Devil, I wasn't in love with it. I didn't mind the gritty vocals, but what turned me off initially were these just consistent upticks with each passing lyric, but after the second listen, it grew on me. The other album, With Whips and Chains, appealed to me more right away because there's not so much of those vocal upticks, and while the vocal style is still gritty, it is a lot more consistent and cleaner than the first album. Musically, Savage Master are killer. With guitars reminiscent of Motorhead and Judas Priest, it's not like anything new, oh god no, but it's something that I really dig, with the lyrical content of Evil and Satan being particularly drawing to me. Some of my favorite songs that I would pick from these two albums are The Mystifying Oracle, Mary the Wolf, and Ready to Sin. If you like classic metal that really leans into satanic themes, then you might like Savage Master. Though, warning, I think this is a band that has to grow on you. You'll have to listen to a couple times, so if you don't like it the first time, just give it another shot, see how you feel afterwards. Let's venture on over to Kiev, Ukraine. Not literally, that's just where the next band, Aftermoon, is from. I listened to their album Phase 1, which came out in 2016, and that naming convention is quite fitting, I'd say. You know, because moon and phases and stuff like that. Anyways. This is a band that blends a few different sounds together. There's metal, there's a bit of electronic, there's some symphonic, and overall, aesthetically, it feels a bit gothic. Not in, like, the truest sense of what goth is, but, like I said, aesthetically, yes. This band alternates between English and Ukrainian in their lyrics, sometimes spanning one whole song in a particular language, other times switching between tongues in the same song, and I think that's pretty neat. I will say that Aftermoon is nothing table-shaking for those that are on the chase for the next great gem, but they are nonetheless very enjoyable, especially if you enjoy a blend of different sounds. personal favorites off of Phase 1 includes Deadborn, Revolution, Cold, even if that shoehorned in record scratch was a bit cheesy, and Turn of the Millennium, and also Damon's. If you needed something in this episode that you might just hear in a Journeys while shopping for another replacement pair of Converse high tops, I've got just the thing for you. It's a band called Dollskin. Shout out to listener Devin for putting me onto this one. Dollskin are an alt-rock pop-punk band from Arizona, and I listened to the album Manic Pixie Dream Girl, which was released in 2017. In researching this one, I found a bit of an interesting story that involves David Ellefson. You know, from Megadeth. Dollskin initially got together to compete in a Battle of the Bands competition at Desert Mountain High School in 2013. Conveniently, David Ellefson was a judge at that competition, after which he followed the band's career for a year, and then offering to produce and manage them. Like, this is a story out of a coming-of-age film, out of a fan fiction that I would read when I was in high school. Like, it's not every day that this shit happens, but damn. Anyway, since then, the band have been busy touring and putting out a couple of albums and EPs, one of which I'm going to talk about right here. Like I mentioned, I listened to Manic Pixie Dream Girl and I was smacked in the face with that pop-punk nostalgia. This is a very fun record. It also takes a moment to let us know their stance on Nazis with a song called Punch a Nazi. There are a few sounds blended together in this one too, pop, punk, and a little bit of metal in there as well. A few songs I really dig on this album are Roadkiller, Ruby, a song all about a witchy woman, Persephone, and Uninvited, the last of those songs being the most metal out of the whole record, where we see the most guitar shredding. I am compelled to listen to more of Dollskin. Here's one for the real goths out there. She passed away. That's P-A-S-T, like a little play on words. Though quite honestly, if you're goth and listening to this, you probably don't need me to tell you about She Passed Away, but for everybody else out there, I'll go ahead and do that anyways. She Passed Away are a Turkish darkwave post-punk band, self-described as using the signature guitar sound of the post-punk era, combined with minimalist poetry in Turkish. I listened to the album Belirdi Gece, which came out in 2013. It's some really good shit, another addition to my calm down time playlist right next to Lizette, and Summoning. It's hard for me to pick out one song from the other, but honestly, I don't care, because it's some solid-ass music. Listen to She Passed Away, guys. Next on this massive fucking list is Skyforger from Latvia. I listened to the album Kurbots, which came out in 2012 via Metal Blade. From the sounds of this album, this is Elevate-esque drop the flute-ass folk metal. I only say that because, when I first listened to Elevate, it was in that time when, that guy Skrillex was popularized, and he did that whole drop the bass thing, and I thought it was just the funniest fucking thing ever whenever a windy sound would drop randomly in a song to say drop the flute. I still don't have good taste in humor today, don't mind me. Anyways, that is, this is okay if you like folk metal. Very listenable. I really do dig how the first song in the album, Curse of the Witch, fades in with a cool marching type of instrumental. There are plenty of moments in this album that shred, which I also dig. In the Underworld and The Last Battle have to be my favorite songs on this album. The former of that because of that melodic chanting chorus, plus moments where they just pull on the guitar strings. And the latter because of the use of gang vocals, also in the chorus. With listening to Skyforger, however, came a certain unease because they apparently have used some imagery that could very well be easily interpreted as supportive of Nazi ideology. This is a risk that one takes when listening to a band that uses pagan or Baltic imagery or symbols, because at best it's like, oh, we're just singing about Vikings and mythology and shit, and at worst it's like, oh, you're listening to somebody who just really would like to cut your throat. That doesn't seem to be the case with Skyforger, though, as they apparently had put out a statement after dealing with some of these accusations of white supremacy, saying that they don't support Naziology, saying that they don't... I need to learn to speak English. saying that they don't support Nazi ideology and that the symbols that they were using in their logo and album art meant, like, protection and not fantasizing about a so-called white utopia, and they put in, like, the liner notes of their CDs that this isn't Nazi stuff. But after dealing with accusations, they have removed what they call the Thunder Cross, or what we would better know as the fucking swastika, from their band logo, which, ugh, come on. I think moving forward, if any bands out there really want to use certain imagery in their album artwork, particularly pagan or Viking stuff, if they don't want to be associated with certain exterminatory groups out there, they should be responsible in vocal and say that they're just singing about Vikings or whatever, and yeah, black people are welcome at our show, something like that. Don't be kicking around dirt because you don't want to alienate people or whatever, because at the end of the day, either way, it's somebody's feelings are gonna get hurt. Don't make a statement about how you're a real victim because you have to watch what you say or do because you put yourself in the public eye. And if it were me personally, I would want those that are systematically alienated to feel safe and okay at one of my shows or to listen to my music. So, yeah, go ahead and listen to Skyforger if you want to. Just for me, I'm just kind of like, the music's okay, but, you can't feel much more comfortable listening to them for the time being. I have been quite depressed at least once or twice in the past month or so, and to remedy that, I figured some iconic, performative, new wave, dressed in see-through outfits that Dolls Kill could only dream of selling would help me out. And it did. It did, a little bit. I listened to Missing Persons' album Spring Season M, and the first thing that struck me was that album cover, so striking and colorful with vocalist Dale Basio's face on there. Lady Gaga homst, Gwen Stefani aware. I only know Miss Del Basio, sorry about it. In this modern age, being exposed to Missing Persons for the first time, I thought it was very cute. A bit different from their time when people would find them provocative. A song which I really dig off this album is Walking in LA. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I suppose, from Missing Persons, I listened to Xibalba, a hardcore death band from Los Angeles. I listened to their latest release, Tierra y Libertad. This isn't my most favorite thing ever, not because I don't think it's good or can't be enjoyed, but I just have a hard time personally digesting the chunky instrumentals. Though I can appreciate the doomy moments in En Paz Descanse. If you would like to see a blend of hardcore and death metal, maybe give Xibalba a shot. I checked out Savior by Unflesh, which came out recently. It's black and death which goes at the rate of speed of fast. To me. Okay, this next sentence might sound a bit provocative. Go ahead and let me know if it is, which I'm pretty sure it is. lthfeedback at protonmail.com. But this album sounds like if Cradle of Filth and Winter Sun had a music baby, which I wouldn't expect to sound good if you told me that sentence, but this somehow does. Overall, this album sounds kind of like, the same thing over and over again, but it's, like, really solid musically, and also there's plenty of moments of just some really good shredding all over this album. I really recommend it. Savior by Unflesh. I have not much to say about Switchblade Symphony. I was just not into this goth essential. I'll say a few things about it, though. I listened to the album Serpentine Gallery, which came out a few years after I was born. That would be 1993, for those of you who are new here, so just add a few to that. 1995. Anyways, there were a few moments in this album I did like, mainly centered around a use of operatic-adjacent vocal delivery in songs like Cocoon, like in Dollhouse, like Gutter Glitter, plus the song Mine Eyes wasn't all that bad, but overall, it's not my thing. I mean, if you are on the lookout for some goth essentials, maybe you'll like Switchblade Symphony. I'm just not drawn to this. making this episode, I finally listened to Iron Reagan for the first time. Go ahead and ask me about that. I was gonna listen to them before, I promise I was, but if you're new here, you'll come to learn very quickly that these episodes, these band binges, are an exercise in combating hyperfixation, which consumes me and compels me to only listen to one band forever. But anyway, so Iron Reagan, I listened to the latest album, Crossover Ministry. The crossover part of that title possibly being an allusion to the fact that they are a crossover thrash band. I was surprised to learn that this is a supergroup comprised of members of bands like Cannabis Corpse and Municipal Waste. Other bands I haven't listened to, but I will eventually. Okay, maybe not Cannabis Corpse because I'm not a weed person, but definitely Municipal Waste. So anyways, I listened to Crossover Ministry, and I was very pleased with what met my ears. Definitely straightforward, pissed off, petty, thrash/punk music with some social and political commentary weaved into the lyrics. It feels like the next sentence is gonna sound a bit weird, but it feels a bit like Carcass's Heartwork, not trying to be as sophisticated about it. Mainly in lyricism and vocal delivery, but also in the sort of like attitude that this album takes. Because there's literally a 6-second track on this called Parents of Tomorrow, and the only line's Mom's on the internet, and that's it, on to the next track. I do love this though, like, my favorite track off this album has to be Dead with My Friends. Ever since I first heard the song, the intro and outro of this has just been non-stop stuck in my head. Plus, it's a song about frustration with the world, suicidal ideation, something I think a lot of people can relate to. It also reminded me of this other song, maybe you've heard of it, called All My Friends Are Dead by Turbo Negro, which both songs clearly broaching a similar subject of dead friends, but both taking very different attitudes and approaches to that situation. Of course, Iron Reagan's very pissed off and angry and wants to be dead too, and meanwhile it feels like Turbo Negro is just sort of happily acknowledging the subject, and, just singing like, all my friends are dead. All my friends are dead. This, that sort of thing. Just way too upbeat for somebody with a lot of dead friends. You can see some other, what I can only imagine are influences in this record. You Never Learn having more of a carcass feel and subject matter of people who are used to being fed by a silver spoon. Mega Church feeling Aussie-ish as it criticizes church leaders, like in the song Miracle Man, you might have heard of it. The title track Crossover Ministry providing an alternative approach to religion and just saying, hey, music is a altar upon which we worship. There's no rules except to have fun and be nice to each other, It does provide a sort of feeling of like metal is religion, but not like very different from what you might see in a band I really like called Powerwolf. You might have heard of them if you've listened to this podcast. Plus, I like that there's a song called Dogs Not Gods in here, just in how silly it is. Like, literally, it's about how the only time one would need to, like, get on their knees is not in prayer, but it's just to feed the dog's dish. It feels silly, but when you think about it for a minute, it's like, yeah, it's true. Dogs will love me no matter what. I don't have to worry about people making me worry if God will love me forever, because I am a sinner and a heathen. So, yeah. I'm gonna listen to more Iron Reagan and flagellate myself a bit more for not doing so sooner once I stop the recording on this podcast. That's not gonna... Okay, after this, we have one more band. After this one, it will be good for this episode. Sound good? Sound good. The name Khemmis has been on my Twitter timeline at least a few times because I've seen Ebony from Metal and Coffee praising this band, so I thought I would give this band a shot too. It's good, because I am opening myself up to doom metal, and look at that! Chemists are doom metal! So I gave their latest album, Desolation, a go, and it felt a bit like Queen of Time by Amorphous, only way less epic and rich, but, like, I say this as a good thing, because my big problem with Queen of Time by Amorphous was that it was so epic and so rich all of the time that you couldn't really listen to the album all at once, like a really good tasting ice cream from Cold Stone, and you think, oh, I'll order a medium size, and then halfway through that ice cream you really regret and wish you could have gotten it small, and now you really want to die. So, the great thing about Desolation by Chemists is that it is very solid musically. Sounds really good. There's some excellent shredding. Not epic and over the top all the time, because it's not, like, trying to be. But also, it's like, appropriate for the mood that Chemists is trying to set here, which is nihilism. I mean, these lyrics, though. How could I pray for salvation when I'm the only mourner left to grieve? We are dust, we are destined to rot eternal, consumed by a world forsaken, and we will not be mourned. Are we depressed yet? Because I already was. But this feels like a comfortable nihilism, like the grooves in my bed that have taken shape around my body. It feels like the whole was made for me. There are death growls, but that is not the primary vocal delivery. In fact, it's mainly clean singing throughout this record, and death growls are there to add a bit of spice to some moments. So, my favorite moments on this album are Isolation because it has a more upbeat instrumental, plus that How Could I Pray for Salvation line, and Maw of Time because of that We Are Dust line because of the way that it is delivered. It smacks you in the face and turns you into dust, kind of like the Thanos snap in Avengers Infinity War, but like, you know, if that were a good movie. The main thing I've noticed with this album is that I found myself, like, looping it. Not in I have to listen to this a certain amount of times till I feel like I've understood this album kind of way, but in a more comfortable, yeah, you know, the album started again. Why not? Let's listen again kind of way. Because a lot of times there is a certain pressure with listening to albums. Maybe it's an I can't wait till this is over kind of attitude. Maybe it's I really like this band. I really need to try my hardest to like every single song on this album. Otherwise, I'm a fake fan. And for me personally, and with this podcast, I really want to at least find something I enjoy about everything. But Desolation by Chemists seemed to be devoid of what one might feel listening to something new. Of course, there's an initial question of how will this sound and will I like this, but that question was answered pretty quickly for me, so the rest of the album just kind of took its course for me, and I had no worries about it. So yeah, definitely gonna give Khemmis more of a go. Finally, we have La Fete Triste. Don't let that name fool you, because this is an all-German experience, baby. I listened to the album 7 Hits in Grau, which is a deceiving title because there's 9 tracks on the album, but also kind of actually really is 7 songs because it's not including the intro and outro tracks, which I don't think intro and outro tracks should be, like, put on blast, as some people might think, because if you want to use them on an album, you know, make them useful for the album experience, and also for the live experience if you're gonna deliver one, which honestly, the intro tracks especially are really useful for having something to engage the audience's brains a bit while the band walks on stage, you know? So, anyways, I don't have anything else to say about La Fete Triste, except that I don't really understand what is essentially German yelling from another room put over darkwave music, but I am into it. So we went through a lot of bands this episode, and I feel like my mountain of bands remains the same size. Like a hydra, cut off one head, 2 grows back in its place. That is something that every metalhead deals with, though, so, like, I know I'm not alone, it's just frustrating because there's just so much music out there. Can we, as a species, just stop making music for, like, just, 5 months so some of us just can catch up? No? Okay, cool. Were you compelled to try out any bands from this episode, and if you did you enjoy any of them? Did you already know about all of these bands? Because, you know, I'm just super behind because I'm just over here looping the same 5 Powerwolf and Sabaton songs nonstop while the world moves on without me. Anyways, let me know on social media, on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, YouTube, and Mixcloud. I am Lovely Metalhead. Follow me on those platforms and bring a friend with you too. If you have feedback you would rather me read aloud on the show, hit me up. Call me a poser for not listening to Iron Reagan sooner. lthfeedback@protonmail.com. Let's start a conversation, folks. Until next week, next Saturday, the next episode of Lovely Talks Heavy here on Mixcloud.com. You stay brutal, my friends. Goodbye.